Good evening. To start with, I will tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Maria Rosario, and I am an anthropologist. I specialize in the research of pre-Columbian civilization in Central America. I would like to thank those from the foundation of the Castilla de Oro who organized this archaeological convention here today in Panama. On the early morning around 5 a.m. on the 13th of October 2011, two young indigenous men, Marcos Montezuma and his brother Wilfredo, started the day like any other on the Comarca Ngäbe-Buglé reservation. These two brothers decided to head downtown and look for work. It was common for Marcos and his brother to visit the farms and ask for work. This day, a farmer who had known the two brothers and had worked for him in the past had invited them again to work on his farm. This time, the farmer asked the two Ngäbe men to dig a water well, or as we say, un pozo. However, what Marcos and Wilfredo were not expecting while digging the water well was to stumble on the greatest archaeological discovery in the world. What makes this archaeological discovery so important is the evidence found in the tomb of a mummified great Cacique called Malchia. This mummified Cacique was a member of a lost civilization that discovered the Americas over 2,000 years before Christopher Columbus. Throughout the archaeological international community, this discovery was raised many questions and excitement. The first discovery of pre-Columbian artifacts that proved the Phoenicians discovered Panama before Christopher Columbus. In the tomb of Cacique Malchia, the archaeologists found two golden chests. One is a sarcophagus with ancient scrolls inside. The scrolls were preserved perfectly because of the sealed sarcophagus covered in gold, and the tomb was sealed with volcanic rocks, keeping a perfect cool temperature all year round. In the ancient scrolls, the hieroglyphics tells the history of the existence of a Phoenician community living in Volcán Chiriquí around 2,600 years ago. This group of Phoenicians set sail from the Middle East and landed in Panama. The ancient sarcophagus is made in an Egyptian-designed rectangular box and covered in gold. The sarcophagus was also connected to another wooden rectangular box, which is also covered in gilded gold. The layered gold varied in thickness, from heavy sheet for the face and wings of the two-winged mat to a thin layer of sheet of the finest gold leaf over the sarcophagus. The two-winged mat was also personified as a goddess regulating the stars in Egyptian mythology. These two ancient golden artifacts were taken out of the tomb of the Cacique Malchia and sent to a scientific laboratory owned by Fort David Museum. Thank you. The archaeologists assigned to examining the two ancient golden chests never could have imagined what they would find inside. When the seal of the lid of the sarcophagus was broken and slowly lifted away from its base, there was a gasp from the archaeologists. What they found underneath was the mummified remains of the Cacique Malchia, and also perfectly preserved various ancient parchment scrolls wrapped in the skin of the ocelot. When the archaeologists opened the second ancient wooden chest, they found ancient religious relics of Hebrew origins. At this time, I will not go into details regarding those ancient religious artifacts. Found in the second golden chest, the specimens were still under close examination. But I say those items found have confounded even our best forensic anthropologists and the scientists so much that there is nothing on this earth to compare with those findings. I am referring to the items in the second chest that are living organisms, and those organisms are so well preserved with no form of nourishment needed to sustain them. There is no fungus or bacteria inside the chest, so it is a very unusual environment that preserves the living organism. We still have not yet identified those living organisms. But when the forensic scientists do, they will release their findings to the public. The tomb of the Cacique Malchia is in a cave that was sealed at both ends with rock and mud, so it created a perfect environment to preserve the ancient artifacts found inside. In Central America, the greatest threat to archaeological sites in rural areas is the lack of understanding of how to preserve those sites from being destroyed by earth-moving equipment like agricultural machinery. Many farmers have accidentally destroyed fragile ancient archaeological relics. When archaeology became integrated into the planning process and farmers were made responsible for recording archaeological sites for destruction conditions requiring archaeological recording, such as excavation, have been an integral part of the process. Such conditions are only applied when regarded as necessary by the professional archaeologists advising the local farmers. However, in many cases, the farmers have not been given the resource to educate on how to identify ancient relics on their lands. We hope in the near future that we can set up workshops to try to educate the farmers on how to protect the archaeological sites from damage before any form of excavation. Thank you for attending this meeting, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them after the meeting.